Welcome to Eminence TV Live, our weekly rundown of competitive news and interviews. I am Ashani, aka Jamaican Dude. As always, I'm joined by the legendary, my handsome other half, Scoots. Say hello, Scoots.
Hello, Scoots.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, the Epic Store, with whom this wouldn't be so amazing if you are enjoyed. Without the words that I'm not reading. If you're enjoying Eminence content and would like to see more, please consider subscribing here on Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to one channel a month for free. We would love if you consider using that on us. The Eminence Marketplace is now live at eminencemarket.com. That's one word, eminencemarket.com. You will find our latest merch, like our super cool playmats. Scoots, show them the map. Oh, well done, good sir.
I was ready.
So you can get those. You can get the mats, super cool, other playmats. You can also join our membership tier and loyalty program, even Command Tower. You can do all of this from eminencemarket.com. Single player is now live on Command Tower, version 1.peace.
Great. That was a really, really smooth. Never. EDH.events is our website that catalogs all cEDH and EDH events tied to Command Tower. A feature of EDH.events is that you can see all the information for your locals. You can sign up for tournaments that are going on, and you can view you can go click on the top right and look at your Eminence profile. Your Eminence profile is a competitive player profile that lists your win and loss ratios based on any event you participated in. It was run through the Command Tower software, and I cannot say enough good things about Command Tower. It is the preeminent tournament organization software, and it only gets new features. It never goes backwards. Stonk always goes up. And I get to tell you now about some Eminence dates and info that are happening in the near future. CCU 2, Cash Cards Unlimited 2, Spring Fling, happening June 3rd through 4th in Los Angeles, California, at the Frank and Sons Gaming Exhibition. Very excited to see the results that come out of that. Maybe we'll see some gamers playing a list that we're going to talk about in a little bit here. The Cookout is July 29th through the 30th in Atlanta, Georgia. That's right, July in Atlanta. It's going to be warm, but inside it's going to be freezing cold because of all the ice-cold cEDH takes that are going to happen there. Windmill Slam, September 29th through October 1st, is happening in San Jose, California. It's our triumphant return to the Bay Area. If you want to take part in the best cEDH tournaments, please consider going to one of those events. I also have the distinct pleasure of announcing that Mox Masters is back, baby. May has already happened. I had a great time casting the final rounds of it with my my good friend Ashani over here. My better half, truly. And sales for June, I think, are live soon or now. I can't remember, but one of the two. And you should go sign up because you can get an invitation to the Playing with Power Mox Masters Invitational that's happening later this year. You can get an invitation to that via earning points in either the Mox Masters events or the Playing with Power League. So that's very exciting. A thing that you might see information from Mox Masters on is EDHtop16.com, which is a website that uses empirical data to show you what the best lists are and what you should be bringing to tournaments based on past results. And we love a data-driven, results-oriented website for determining what is and isn't cEDH. It is no longer in the hands of a shadowy group of people who determine what is and isn't. Just go win and get your list on there. With that, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing two very awesome people. We have Z-Rob, Zain, hello, welcome, and Takato here, say hello. And they both uh Takato top 16, the cEDH tournament, like, like the body of water EDH tournament
Yeah,
that
like
happened
Seattle.
in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. Uh, on a list that we're going to talk about in some detail, and Zain top forward, final tabled the Mana Vault FTV tournament that happened over the weekend, which featured appearances from some like very, very, very good players. Like we had D Train there, we had Sam Black there, we had a lot of players there.
Oh yeah.
The playing field was stacked. I think Mikey made an appearance. Like it was
Oh yeah, but that guy's washed.
That
So
guy is
yeah.
washed,
true,
man.
He's
true,
washed
true,
right
true,
now.
true, true, true. Probably still playing Grixis like a fool. But the reason that we have both of these wonderful people on this evening is because we are going to talk about the secret tech that took both of these tournaments by storm. It's Dihada Binder of Wills, a deck that I've played against some in the past, but this is a new, streamlined, less clunky version of Dihada, and it is spiking tournaments, and it has been in development for quite some time, and it's finally being released to the world on here this broadcast, and it's earlier today on the internet. So greetings, guests. Thank you so much for coming on and taking some time to talk about your successes this weekend. um, just
Yeah,
start.
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, I mean, so glad that you could join us. Pleasure to have you
Pretty
today.
good intro, boys. Might have to give you guys a raise, So
Thank you, thank you, thank you, pops. I appreciate it. Yeah. uh So we want to hear, number one. I think everybody here is here to listen to uh, the question. How do you feel that the deck performed this weekend? I mean, obviously you were able to propel yourselves into the top 16 and the top 4, but barring players' skill, how do you feel the deck itself performed in the events this weekend? I'll start with Takato and then go to Zane.
Sounds good. Yeah, so surprisingly, the deck is very powerful. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to the finals table this time around, but I can see myself using this deck to win a bigger event, not further than top four. Maybe I can win a big event with this, like whole thing. This deck is very powerful. Like, I'm a rock side player usually. I like Turbonauts, I like Breach, but Dihada obviously doesn't have Brain Freeze, but has like other potential to propel itself to victory, and I think it's a like comparable like turbo deck to be like top of the format. That's how I felt. Go ahead and say.
Oh yeah, this deck felt sorry, I know there were some volume issues. Hopefully
Yeah,
it's
it's
all good.
got them cleared up, I
Um
think.
yeah, this deck feels amazing. Um
Awesome.
I just every game I sat down, I was like, yeah, I'm going to win this game. Like I'm not even concerned. Obviously that I only won half my games, but some stuff went wrong, a little bit of skill issue. Uh, never every game I was just like, cool, easy wins. Afraid of my opponents. Cool, we're gonna put Breach, my favorite card, on the stack. We're gonna win. No one knows what's happening. Cool, let's go next. I think I played what 4 rounds of Swiss and then one semifinals and one finals game, and I believe I ended all my Swiss games on turn two. I think one or like put a win on the stack and on turn by turn two or at least turn three. So
Excellent.
feels good.
So, I'm here going to be challenging this deck as always.
Mhm.
But isn't this just a brewer's advantage?
No, I don't think so. I actually sat down at a specific table and they knew exactly what I was up to. They were
Okay.
like, "Oh, he's gonna try to do the flicker thing with
Yeah.
breach or whatever. We can't let him get to that." Well, you know what, man? Like, it doesn't matter if you know what my deck does. Your decks are not built to fight my deck.
Yeah.
You can't fight it on the stack because all your counter
Mhm.
spells don't hit planeswalkers and enchantments. I
Or
got stuff
defense
like
grip.
Grand Abolisher and whatnot that I can just poop out onto the board. I'm making a lot of mana. I'm making more mana than anyone else at the table. Like all three players combined, their mana probably equals the amount of mana I have on turn two. So yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that they know what I'm doing. It's not really a brewer's advantage. Like Come on, Ashani, you went on playing with
I-
Power podcast. You
Oh,
told everyone what I was up to, and it didn't matter. I realized the
listen,
deck's just good.
listen. I
And
know, I know said a few keywords, but
And
fair.
I think
But
the other
Yeah.
thing people are missing also is that the answers for planeswalkers in the format, like outside of non-creature permanent bounce spells, are they're so limited because the planeswalker removal in Magic is like 3-4 mana, and nobody is playing that. And because
Yeah.
outside of Dihada and I think I've seen Aminatu and Chainveil Teferi, there aren't really planeswalkers helming cEDH decks.
There's like Tavesh as well, but
Yeah.
I get what you mean. And like so I think the deck preys on the meta. I think Taka can actually talk more about this than even me. I think what
Yeah.
the meta he played in was like super standard.
Yeah.
so,
So
so
yeah, I
before
mean we can.
before
What's up, Ashani? Go
so
ahead.
before Taka, what was your case? Did people know what you were doing when you sat at the table?
I'm sorry, what?
Half the people knew what I was doing, and half the people didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. So I was
S-
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, for me, people kind of had an idea. It's like, it's gonna breach, it's gonna Nas, but how fast
But
does it really
how?
get there?
Yeah. Or
They
how do
know
you
what,
get there?
yeah, they know how it's gonna end, but they don't know what's gonna happen in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like going into your games that was an advantage for you because you
I'm not
kind
gonna
of
say
knew.
it's not, but
I
Right.
like
don't think
Okay.
so,
No, you
because
don't
like
think so? Okay.
yeah,
I
at the
mean,
end of the day, the deck gets to like breach or Nas state is just like any other deck for the most part, or it's just harder for them to interact. So n- even if they know it, they're not ready for it.
yeah. I
Okay.
think
And
the
is it
issue
worth
is.
building their deck to counter this?
Yeah.
We don't know yet. So
And the issue is like when you're doing your breach loop with Flicker and Dihada, you can't. You're not going to remove Dihada with the Flicker on the stack. Well, what are you going to remove it with? And if you do remove it, you just start the loop again with the tons of treasures that you already have, like, and cast
yeah.
Flicker again. So it definitely attacks an axis that the meta is currently not prepped for. But I think that there are other things that make it a good deck, and I'm really interested to hear Takato. What some of the strengths going into the meta that you played in over the weekend were for you.
So before we go in too deep, Dihada is a new card, somewhat new. So I wanted to make sure everybody knows what Dihada does. You guys familiar, chat? Let me know. Well, let's get it started by reading the effect. Zane, do that like you do it on webcam tournament. Read the card.
Oh man, you want me to read the full text of the card? Yeah, I
Yes,
got you.
please.
Alrighty. So, Dihada, Binder of Wills. One generic, red, white, and black. So, CMC4. It's legendary Planeswalker Dihada. It's also mythic. The +2, up to one target legendary creature gains vigilance, lifelink, and indestructible until your next turn.
The best mode.
-3, this is the bread and butter right here. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put any number of them, any number of legendary cards from among them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. Create a treasure token for each card put into your graveyard this way. And then -11, this is just flavor text for the card. Gain control of all non-land permanents until the end of the turn. Untap them. They gain haste until end of turn. Dihada, Binder of Wills, can be your commander. And she opens with 5 loyalty.
Yeah, thank you for Zane. Just in case I pulled up the image on my screen,
Beautiful.
I think it's minimized because of the camera size issue, but grab your magnifying glasses, I guess.
So what
But yeah.
what legendary creatures are you playing in your deck to support the best game plan of the. I'm kidding. But
Yeah.
Hey, it comes up.
yeah,
That's
Archangel of
sometimes.
no, yeah, okay.
But yeah, usually it's just you pay 4 mana into it to cast Dihada. If she resolves, we have I have the priority first, so I can activate the -3 ability before they can kill Dihada.
Yeah.
So basically, if she resolve, I'm gonna -3. I'm gonna look at the top four. Usually, I just send them all to the graveyard right away,
Mhm.
and I get 4 treasures. So
Basically, like a free cast commander.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
so like bottom line, you pay 4 mana, you get 4 back, and you get 4 free cards to the graveyard. Yes, it's a free spell, and you know what's free spell in your command zone? Rograk. Rograk is great. Maybe Dihada is also great.
Could be. Could be.
Could be.
That's a steep
We can
one,
talk
but
more about it.
I mean, maybe when we can sack Dihada for mana, let's get that. That'd be great. But yeah, no. So, and as far as legendaries that you might be putting into your hand, it's like Bolus's Citadel
Yeah,
normally.
sometimes
Yeah, no, Magda as well. I'll
Magda
put
as
that
well,
in.
yeah.
Bolus's Citadel. Those are the 2 legendary happy to see
Yeah.
from the top 4. We pick it up to our hand quite often. Also, Mox Opal is legendary.
Okay, yeah.
It's like
Mox
reusable treasure.
Gemstone Caverns if you're gonna need a land drop because it's more permanent mana, and then in the future, once Lord of the Rings comes out, Mount Doom is another legendary land. It'll
Yep.
replace Luxury
I
Suite.
love Mount Doom. It's
in the
such a
deck.
cool land.
Yeah, I think the last one is like very occasionally. I'll put this Oswald Fiddlebender
Mhm.
in my hand. Here, let's link the chat.
yeah, the deck
Yeah,
list.
drop the deck
Oh,
list
yeah,
in
there
the
you go.
chat.
Yeah, let's link it to Zane's list.
But yeah, so sometimes I'll put the Oswald in as well. I've definitely won the game by doing that before.
Mhm.
But yeah, those are the main legendaries. Heart of Kirin, yeah, you can do Heart of Kirin. Depends on what you got in hand.
Yeah, usually Hurricane, we just send it to the graveyard and we bring it back when it matters with Breach. So
Exactly.
yeah, the legendary clause doesn't really matter for that card.
So
Sorry.
with Heart of Kirin,
Mhm.
you can remove your Dihada by paying its screw cost, right? So you can cast your Dihada again. That's the
Exactly.
reason Heart of Kirin's on the list.
Yeah, it's a breach
We can-
loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
can
can
get into
talk
that
about
later.
those combo details later on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is a sack outlet for Planeswalker.
So
Yeah.
what we're getting at, the thrust of this is that Dihada is a good deck because it attacks on an axis that isn't easily interacted with. It can fill your graveyard and is a combo piece. All in the form of a planeswalker. And unless they
It's
have
all rolled up there.
and unless they have a negate in hand, like the spell doesn't hit it. I guess Blue Blast hits it. More people are playing Blue Blast, but unless they have like a negate, like a force of negation, they're not
Yeah.
countering it.
People
Sometimes
usually
spell
aren't
pierce.
countering it anyways.
Yeah.
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 And like
Excellent.
so like the deck is also in Mardu color. Some people might be like, well, why aren't you playing blue? I don't know. It just seems correct to be playing such like a powerful effect in the command zone in
Mhm.
these colors. We can breach loop with it, obviously, one card. And then just like where the meta is at right now, no one's equipped to deal with this type of deck. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they can actually deal with this deck because then you lose potency versus the other top decks.
Yeah.
I noticed that in a lot of tournament games these days, I've been running into just everyone is sitting there. They think their opponents have perfect hands. Everyone's just sitting on Ristic Study, drawing cards with Timna. If we just don't ascribe to that prisoner's dilemma of like, hey, cool, if you build your base, I'll build my base, and then we'll like fight each other later, like as a kid in StarCraft.
Yeah. Let's get
then
this out onto the table.
You can just beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just drop like a Grand Abolisher and win the game. Like, what
Yeah.
are they gonna do?
Go
I just
go
max
fast, just win.
disrespect.
Yep. So let's talk about where this deck kind of originated from. First of all, I assume inspiration came from somewhere. Where was the original deck list that you based it on? Or is this all from your brain?
No, it's definitely not from my brain. I'm not an original person.
Me
There's a really funny story behind this actually. There's like a lot of different sources. I'm glad Taka is here because Taka is like one of the originators of where this deck list came from. Is we were working for like EDH top 16 stuff, and Taka has connections to Haruya, and I was like, hey, how do we get data from Haruya so that we can put on the website? And
Yeah.
he linked me like, here's the Haruya meta breakdown website.
Yeah.
Previously, before this, I had actually messaged Gustav with this commander, and I was like, "Hey, man, this looks cool, but I can't think about it, so I'm just gonna put this here."
Mhm.
And then I just never thought about it again. But when Taka linked me to Haruya, I noticed this commander was really popular in Japan.
Yeah. Very
Oh,
popular.
So
Oh, just
very
to let you
cool.
guys know, I'm Japanese, but I'm not from Japan. Well, I don't live in Japan, but yeah.
yeah,
Don't
so
ask me what's my favorite anime. I don't know. Yeah, don't ask that question. Thank you. Okay,
Mine's
let's move
SpongeBob SquarePants. He linked me to the Haruya meta breakdown. I was like, wow, a lot of people are playing Dihada. I wonder if they like are onto something. And then that same week, my friend Weston from Las Vegas, he messaged me. He was like, hey man, I just won an Underground Sea playing Dihada, and I was like, okay, I'm like receiving signs from God to build this deck. So we gotta we gotta build this deck.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Um,
So
so
basically, yeah, we have a lot of like signal coming from everywhere. So we started to look deep into the Japanese list mainly,
Hmm.
and their metagame is way different from ours. Over there, there's a lot of creature-based stack, kind of slower metagame than
Yeah.
ours. So their Dihada list has a lot of dedication on board wipes. Like they
Okay.
even run like damnation, which is crazy. But
That's wild.
basically,
Yeah.
what their goal is use Dihada to make tons of mana. Sometimes you just activate Dihada and go breach and win that way, but a lot of times you can just pass the turn. Next turn, let's say if they build up their board, like maybe Malcolm decks or
Hmm.
like those like Brass Akiri deck, like build your board with dorks and like some setup.
Yeah.
On my turn as Dihada, untap with 4 treasure and probably like 3 lands or
Yeah.
some sort of mana source. That's a lot of mana. Open up with like damnation. Their game plan is like back to square one, and from there you can do other stuff like, and then usually ends up with breach. But like
Yeah.
that was their game plan. But our metagame in America, Europe, we don't really need to worry about those like creature centric slower deck for the
Yeah.
most part. I'm sorry if you play stacks, but you're not our concern. But so basically we tweak around some stuff like instead of running like um higher cost set like mass removal, we slot in some of the spot removal to hit on like a critical piece. Like we play like fatal push, those kind of stuff, so that we can attack like
Hmm.
Najila, Malcolm for like lower amount of mana. We make a lot of mana, but we want to save the usage
yeah,
of those mana so that we can do our big move to just end the game instead of
exactly.
dealing with the board.
Excellent.
It's because it's not permanent, man. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, it is treasures.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like I noticed that a lot of lists here that I for Dihada that I noticed, I think there were so my friend Weston's list, it was going pretty all in on, or not all in. Okay, I'm gonna say all in. It's going pretty all in on like reanimation
Okay.
strategies. So it had like the Leonin Relic
The
Warder. It had
Razaketh
Abdel.
LRW.
No
Oh,
Razaketh
okay.
actually, but it had
Interesting.
like Abdel and stuff. Because I mean, I guess that's like a natural way to think is like, oh, I'm milling cards, so
Yeah.
I could reanimate stuff. I tried that build. In fact, actually, I tried it against Taka and Ashani here, and Hal, who's in the chat here, and we after the game decided that that shit does not really work. It's kind of
Hmm.
slow and it's got a little bit of dead air. If we just cut out all the reanimation stuff and go all in on breach
Hmm.
because the commander is such a good breach engine,
Yep.
um, then you'll probably go way faster and win more games. We don't need to like sit
Mhm.
around and durdle until like turn 4, turn 5 to like
Yeah.
try to
Yep.
win. We just like hit the gas. So thank you to both of you in here and Hal in the chat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like there are enough like a breach player, maybe Grixis, maybe 4 color, 5 color player, but like I'm pretty sure you came across a situation where you have the breach, you have maybe like D tutor or like top deck tutor plus a way to crack the top deck, but you don't have enough graveyard
Hmm.
to get the breach going. But the Hada actually fuels the graveyard for free,
Yeah.
and that's what makes the Hada a great breach deck, and that's where we started, and then kept going in that direction.
And I think.
For
So,
the viewers, like just to describe it to them real fast, just so they're on the same page. Like, how does the breach thing work with Dihada? Like we've been talking about it a
yeah.
lot.
Oh yeah,
So
let's talk about that.
there's the main card for the breach combo is Flicker. Flicker says exile non-land permanent and bring it back under its owner's control.
Hmm.
It's a 1 and a white. It's a sorcery. So what you do is you get breach on the stack. You have most likely 2 treasures left over or something after, and you have a Dihada. You flicker that Dihada, boom, comes back with 5 loyalty counters,
Yeah.
and then you mill 4, and then you just keep casting flicker from the yard with the breach. So
Mhm.
now you're netting 1 card plus 1 card in the graveyard,
Plus
and
2
you're netting
treasures.
plus 2 treasures.
Yeah.
This also works with Heart of Kirin. It's less good. You kind of just do it until you hit the flicker. Um, Heart of Kirin, you just crew the Dihada over and over, or you crew the Heart of Kirin with the Dihada loyalty counters over
Yeah.
and over again, and then send her to the yard. And then you use the 4 treasures from her to cast Dihada, and then
Yeah.
you're netting +1 cards in the yard.
Yeah.
The usual finishers in Mardu, we're doing Dual Caster Twin and like Mayhem Devils and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Or if there are other like blue black deck, we can always like steal their Thoracle and then empty the
Sure.
deck because we mill through our deck. And
Yeah, and you've got the normal Cloudstone Curio Dockside stuff, so you can set up all your combos. You can get, you can get infinite treasures. You can then do the Dihada thing. You've got ways to get all your combos out. The synergy is really strong. That's the thing. When I looked at this deck the first time, all of the cards are very. It's created in such a way that all of the cards kind of feed off of each other, and you're extremely low. Like you're on 24 lands, but that means that there's more gas in the deck. So it's this brewing strategy that I'm seeing a lot more often. They cut a land, add gas, add something that produces mana. It's
The,
it's all
the,
it's all very
the
new school.
Dihada is just so potent because like
Yeah.
you can do Dihada, tutor for breach, cast breach, and then just tutor again. Like you don't need
Yeah.
to have the cards in the yard to be like, oh, I can't redo that and then get my brain
Right.
freeze over. You don't care. You just go
So
grab your flicker
so
and go.
The card that you
let's
tutor
take
for is
let's take a turn here. So what does the deck struggle against? We're talking about all the great things. What does it struggle against?
I'll be
so
real with you, Ashani. I didn't struggle against anything.
All right, but you say you lost games, so you'll struggle somehow.
okay, so I can talk about also. Okay, I went 3-1-1 in my Swiss round, and one of
Okay.
the loss was like I did run into that like tough situation.
Sweet. Okay.
It is
Tell us
it
about
is
it.
a very extreme situation, but like it was like a pile of stuff that Dihada doesn't like seeing.
Okay.
So I was against 3 Kenrith. Yes, 3. I'm not joking. 3 Kenrith. So
yuck.
old Kenrith player had Deathrite Shaman on the board, so it does eat my Breach Fuel
Yeah.
here and
Yeah.
there. That's something I don't like, but it's not critical. There were 2 Ristic Studies and Mystic Remora on the board. Ristic Study isn't as scary if you are trying to breach with Flicker.
Mhm.
If there's only one though, because as Zayn mentioned before, you're using 2 mana for the Flicker to make 4 treasures. So
Yeah.
basically, you have a room to pay for 1 Ristic Study.
Yep.
And still like net mana that way. Or you can keep on paying 2 mana for the 2 Ristic Study and just keep on milling. So Ristic Study is not as scary, but Mystical Mora kind of gets in the way.
Yeah.
But my board didn't end there. They also had Doughty Boywalker. So,
Killer
that's
card.
that card is our arch enemy because yes, we can still get treasure off of Dihada activation. Or I don't think I
No,
can.
you
because
can't, right?
because
Yeah.
we have to. Dihada cares about amount of cards I sent to the graveyard. So basically, cards like Doughty Boywalker and Rest in Peace,
Yeah.
like shuts off the good part of Dihada.
So
that's yes. Go ahead.
being clear, the things that the deck struggles with, and Ashani is trying to be the calm other perspective here, but the things that the deck struggles with are the things that every good deck struggles with. Just
Correct.
Yeah, I mean it's a breach deck. You're gonna struggle against yard.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna
our
struggle
problem is
against
same
Rest
as
in
other
Peace.
good people.
Yeah.
And like we're not countering people's spells. I had a game this weekend where I was playing against like a mono green Solvala, and I was like, cool, this guy's gonna put down Collector Oof like 100%.
Yeah.
My hand was Soul Partition, Lightning Bolt, Red
Yeah.
Blast. I was like, cool, like I don't care. I have so much removal in this deck that I know you're gonna play these stacks pieces. It's so predictable.
It's
Um,
yeah, it's actually one of the things that I notice about your deck. For a Mardu deck, you're playing actually like a fairly high density of instants. You're playing 18 instants, and a lot of them are removal. Shout out if Moloch's in the chat. They will feel vindicated by the fact that you are another cEDH deck playing Fatal Push. I know they've been pushing that for a long time. I see fork to fork removal. That's really cool. And the Lightning Bolt and the Blast and Soul Partition and Swords. You're actually like really high on interactive spells comparatively.
Exactly. We're also on like Portable Hole. We're on Out of Time for a wipe. We're on Touch the Spirit Realm. We got ways to interact with things that don't like us for days.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. Like once
Yeah,
again,
even
if
though
you're
we know
if
how
you
to
have
draw
like
action.
exactly if you have like a pulse, you can find the you can like mold to the removal. You know that your opponent, you know what your opponents are gonna
Yeah.
do.
As long as you're a warm body, you
long as
can
you-
figure it out. What
Yeah.
already?
It's
So,
like, oh,
like-
cool, mono green. Yeah, you're gonna play Collector Oof. Oh, Winota. Okay, cool. You're gonna play Winota. Like,
yeah.
oh, you're playing an Abzan list. Great. I'm gonna get my removal for your rule of law. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
It,
So like
it,
you
it
might be
can be dealt
wondering,
with.
like Dihada doesn't draw your cards, so like aren't you gonna be out of gas if you know like go for those removal plan? Not
Right,
necessarily
right.
the case because the win con because the deck is centered around breach. How I we usually only need breach to win the game, so
Yep.
that's like a less card dedicated from your
Yeah.
hands to Path of Victory. So they and also the Hada makes mana also, so you don't need those as much ramp spell to cast excess mana for removal. So
Yeah.
it creates like an extra slots in your hand when you mulligan for those removal without pushing back your win. So
Exactly.
If you
that's
have
the
a
reason
tutor
why
for
we can
yeah.
yeah.
If you have a tutor for
Exactly.
breach, you can breach
Then you
that
can
back
win.
and have a tutor for the other piece, which is
Correct.
compared to the LED brain freeze plan. You're needing
Yeah,
to
that's
set
a
that
lot
up
of
with
cards.
something like intuition or 3 separate
Exactly.
tutors, that kind of thing.
And like, I always have mana in this deck as well, so that's never a problem
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, always have mana, always cards in the graveyard to fill your breach. Thanks to Dihada.
So my question to you, and before we move on to, we've talked about the changes that you've made to the deck over time, and we're going to talk about the differences between your two lists. But before I talk about that, I want to ask you, I've seen sentiments on the internet that Mardu is the new Grixis, and I want kind of a definitive answer. Do you feel that Mardu Breach is in a better spot currently than blue-based Breach decks?
I think Mardu breach decks are in a good spot because of these like Grixis and like Grixis plus decks.
Yeah.
Like if those decks weren't literally the entire meta, then I don't think this deck is as good, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
So
once again, it's built to kind of exploit what people are doing. Like, what is Tivit, Rog Silas, Najila, or TNK gonna do versus stuff? And that's like the
Yeah.
majority of the share of the meta. Like I think I struggle more when I'm playing against random jank at the table than if I'm playing against established decks.
Yeah. I think that'll happen a lot. Shawnee earlier mentioned the Brewers' advantage, and yeah, random jank tends to play a lot of cards that aren't super synergistic with each other or really in the meta, so you have to answer some odd things. Kalualua in the chat says, who would you rather be, the Mardu player jamming win or the two blue players bullying each other over who will cast their interaction?
I'll be the blue player.
And the
I'll be the
clown
blue player.
emojis come down. Here we go.
I'll be the blue player all the time. That's fine. I get to stop and then attempt to win. Yeah, that's perfectly
now
fine.
here's the thing.
Shawnee.
That's perfectly fine with me.
The night before the Playing with Power podcast you recorded, I heard you were both malding and praising this deck after you lost to Heart of Kieran like 3 times in a row.
You know, the thing is that a Shawnee will talk smack on things and say that he's above them or
Listen.
better than them, but like if you try to point out that he's praised it in the past, you should just take a video.
For the record, everyone, I put Dihada on the stack and I was like, cool, -3, make 4 treasures, and he was like, wait, what?
Wait, what? Yeah, exactly. -3, fill your yard, make 4 treasures. It's so stupid.
Are we going to talk about the Brewers' advantage? I had no idea what was going on. Then I saw a vehicle. I saw a vehicle enter the stack. I'm not countering that. And then I lost her. And I'm like, hey, cool deck, bro. Brewers' advantage seems great.
Okay.
That is 100% on you, Ashani. That is on you. That's not Brewers' advantage.
Issue?
That's ignorance.
Skill issue, sure.
Skill issue. Point to the playmat. Exactly.
Fair.
Let's see.
This deck sounds like a well-timed endurance would suck, says TC Soto 900. Interestingly enough, I have a comment on that. I have never seen an endurance player win a game.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. I've never seen the endurance player win the game.
Never seen it. And I have been the endurance player in the past. Like, oh yeah, I got your consult. I screwed you over on that. Then the next person jams Nas and I lose.
Yeah.
Endurance player never wins. Don't do it. Don't play it unless you're looping your deck with it like Time Twister.
Yeah. I do want to point out that we have been talking a lot about breach in this deck. There's actually like a few other things we're doing. For example, we mentioned Magda earlier. Dihada makes 4 treasures.
Yeah.
Magda says sack 5, find something. You'll notice we have Bolas' Citadel in our decks.
It's a good plan.
Pretty good card. We're on 24 lands, so the Bolas' Citadel doesn't even break that often. I'm saying that after I break this weekend on a Bolas' Citadel, but that's a skill issue on my part. We also have the 3 extra turn spells, so we support Citadel there, and enough shuffle effects. So you can also do cool stuff like get the Curse Mirror out, copy a Dockside, get Curio, and start looping.
Curse Mirror is such a cool card. I'm glad people are playing it.
Yeah, that card is pretty good. You can Oswald into it, you can Magda into it, you can Goblin Engineer into it, copy Docksides and whatnot, make mana, win the game. When it comes in, it's not even an artifact, so it works with Cloudstone Curio.
Yeah, it's a creature.
So that's pretty good. There's just lots of ways, uninteractable ways to get Citadel, get a defense grid on the board, get Dockside on board, whatever. Just people are not equipped to deal with it. Like, and the ways that they are equipped to deal with it, which is like Douthie, Dranith, Opposition Agent, we kill that stuff like so easily, so easily. We're prepared for that. So there's nothing that we're not ready for that I've seen when people went like, oh shoot, I lose the game now. Like, it's never been a big concern of mine.
Yeah. Also, importantly, you play your own 2-card combo in Dualcaster Twin Flame. I think people sleep on that a lot. I only see non-blue decks playing Dualcaster Twin Flame, but it is a 2-card combo and it is like fairly succinct and you already have 4 treasures and you need 5 mana.
Exactly.
So,
and like in this deck, I just want to point out that Jeweled Lotus. Hey Max, I see you talking about Trickbind in here. Get out of here. No one wants to see that. I don't want to talk about it.
No one plays Trickbind. What?
Yeah. Go back to your high power casual game, Max. Sorry.
In this deck, Jeweled Lotus is an extremely powerful card. You can convert.
Right.
It's almost like a Black Lotus. That sounds like an exaggeration. But yeah, you turn the Jeweled Lotus into 4 treasures essentially with Dihada.
Yeah.
That won me a game at this event at the Mana Vault this past weekend. It was literally land, Vamp Tutor for Jeweled Lotus, draw Jeweled Lotus, play another land, crack Jeweled Lotus, get Dihada, DT. I DT'd for Cabal Ritual. I have 7 cards in the yard because Dihada just milled 4. And then I Cabal Rit, Adnaz, win the game. Like, people are not ready for this.
Yeah. Like I have let's see, my tournament, I had a game where Gemstone plus Landstar and a turn 1, just Imp Seal for JLo. Next turn, draw the JLo, cast the JLo, crack the JLo, cast Dihada, Flicker, and I'm sorry, of course, -3, mill the graveyard, and then Flicker. And my opponents were like, oh, that's a lot of mana. And they're like, yeah, right? And then cast Silence. Why? Because I have so much excess mana. And they're like, oh, we're dying right now.
You are dying.
You're dying right now. But I think we can talk a little bit about like how we're utilizing those excess amount of mana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can even do things like uptick Dihada take an extra turn with one of our 3 premier extra turn spells.
Mhm,
Yup.
Next
mhm.
turn, you down tick. You have 4 treasures on your
Yep.
final turn. Like you're
Mhm.
killing people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
And
you can
okay,
use those huge amount of mana in many ways to get around so many interactions. Like we're white, we're in white, so we can play a lot of like Grand Abolish, Ranger Captain,
mhm,
Defense Grid, and what do we add? The last one, the newer
Silence, Flame Scroll Celebrant
Yep,
as
yep,
well. I'm on
yep,
Orm's Chant. You're on Flame Scroll. I
yep.
just couldn't find my Flame Scroll Celebrant before I went to
yeah.
the event. Um,
And the Tithe Taker. That's another great
oh
card.
yeah, and Tide Taker. That's right. That shit won me the game
Tithe
as
Taker
well.
is so cool. That's a really neat card. It's another one like Paladin class that I see sometimes
yeah.
snuck into decks. Like
The difference
Paladin,
between
Yeah.
Paladin class and Tide Taker though is one, Tide Taker is a creature, and two, it
yeah,
also turns it taxes like Otawaras and
yeah,
Bosages as well. So
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, it does, huh?
yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
damn
It
Ashani, maybe
taxes
it
when it
is a
activates.
skill issue.
Yeah.
Bro, when I got blown
And,
out by that one.
yeah, we do. Our breach does get shafted by Boseiju and Otawara sometimes, but Tithe Taker kind of gets around us.
Hmm.
It does fill that niche. Defense grid, silence effect, don't stop those land activation, but Tithe Taker kind of
Tithe
gets
Taker
in the
slows
way,
it
and
down,
it's great.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
I
it's amazing
can't tell
card.
you the amount of times I've been blown out when someone had 2 mana and both Seiju'd me. It's a pain in the butt.
it's
Mhm.
it's pretty good, pretty good. So,
Legendaries
And also,
discount it.
so we're
oh
gonna
yeah, go ahead.
compare the next Mardu deck that has a few good top finishes.
Yeah,
Let's get Timna
yeah, that's the question from the
Oh
chat.
yeah, it recently
versus
won the
Dihada.
thing. Yeah.
So, what do you think are the pros and cons? Why do you think Dihada sits better than Jessica Timna in a better position in the meta?
Let's see.
Um,
So
I would say yes, definitively so.
Reason?
Uh, it's just a more well-oiled machine than what they're doing in Timna Jessica. You see these Timna Jessica lists, they're like on that reanimation stuff. That they can play that slower game, but like why opt into that at all? We just
Mhm.
don't even opt into it. We don't have to.
yeah,
I will say like maybe Dargo Timna is better than this deck, so definitely check that out.
possibly.
Shout out
Get
to
that,
Marcus
get
and
that
Tanya.
noise out of here! No,
No,
no, no, no.
Dargo Timna is
Dargo
sick.
Timna is not a deck.
Dargo Timna is a
Like,
Absolutely
real
not.
I
deck.
think
No.
I think the so like Timna Jessica, you have that outlet in the command zone. Yeah, you can draw
Yeah,
some cards or whatever. That's cool.
yeah.
In this deck, I guess we also have the outlet in the command zone
Yeah.
with Breach, the best card in the format.
Yeah.
And then yeah, you can just loop that stuff. Additionally, like yeah, we're not drawing cards to hand with Timna, but or with Dihada, but we're milling it to yard. It's almost virtual card advantage
Hmm.
once we get our Yogg's Will or Breach
Mhm.
online or whatnot.
Yep.
And we can put those legendary creatures into our hand as well. So it's not like the end of the world. And
Yeah.
like once again, we're not opting to play into a long game. We don't care about that. We don't have
Yeah.
to. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever played in this deck. Like most of my games are ending turn 3, no matter what. So either
I
me or
don't know.
someone else.
These pods sound soft, is what I'm hearing. These pods sound soft,
No,
but
I
it's
mean
okay.
these pods sound fun. Is what they sound
Oh,
like.
they sound
Yeah.
fun. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of magic you're playing, but
Sound like a bunch of I want interact versus you want interact, and the first person to go off wins.
I mean the softest
weak.
pods I've ever
I don't know,
experienced.
That's
Ashani.
weak.
I sat down at a table with 3 blue players, and they were just sitting there with like I won't say that. They were headless chickens. They were just like, damn, I don't know what to do against this.
Yeah.
So
Well,
like
good
once
luck
again,
stopping the Grand Abolisher.
if you
That
don't
card is
act
like
like your opponent, if you don't act like your opponents have a perfect hand against you, which like a lot of people do for some reason, they're just like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm playing against 3 blue players, they must all have force of will in their hand. But that's just not the
Yeah,
case.
that's not the
Um,
case. That's true. Yeah.
Hellenium in the
even if
chat,
they drew quite a
Ashani.
bit of cards with Ristic, yeah, they don't usually have it.
Hellenium
Just
in the
cast
chat,
this
Ashani saying you must be you're sounding like you're back on Thrasios and Timna with the way you're talking.
I have no
Damn.
comments on that.
BTFO.
Get bodied. Honestly.
Nothing to say about that.
DMOC, one of the tournament organizers from cEDH, says, I will say I agree with the Shiny the Brewers advantage is a thing here. A buddy of mine was playing against Taka round 4 that was aware of what Dihada does. They tried to tell the table about it, but from my understanding, the other 2 players didn't respect it.
I love to hear
So
it. Love to hear
I
it. Brewers
I
advantage.
I
Let's
think
hosted
it
go.
was
against.
more of like so what happened in that game was like I was going first. I did like just land pass, and the next player he was playing T and K Tim Necrom, and then he cast a turn one. What was it? Sarah's Ascendant, and then the third player who was Kinnan got scared about it. So what else? He cast a Mental Misstep, and then Tim Necrom player wanted to keep Saracen, so they also mental missteps. So I don't know, man. Like,
Sounds more like ignorance to me
yeah,
than
it's
Yeah,
Brewers
like
like
advantage.
Oh,
I would
okay.
say the Brewers' advantage is not that real because
Yeah.
as I've been testing this deck for like what 3 weeks now in the same play group, they all
Yeah.
know what the hell I'm doing at
They
this
know what it
point.
does, and
Yeah,
they're still whiffing on it.
they're still losing,
Yep.
so I don't
Okay,
know.
let's maybe put a little pilot skill in there. But at the end of the day, we can all agree Zayn is being stubborn here. Taka, agree with me here. Is Brewers advantage?
We're on that see you next time screen. I don't know if
I don't
that's
know. Like, do you
intentional.
want me to say yes and gives you guys a hope?
Oh, I think I
Oh,
might have
then-
hit the down arrow on my keyboard. Hello, friends. Don't.
Don't leave.
We're back. Sorry about that. Why is Sarah Ascendant such a boogeyman for people?
Hold on. Let's not skip. I want to hear Taka say the words here. Brewers advantage. That's what the Dihada is.
Sean, do you want me to say yes so that you guys will have a little more hope in the cash card
Oh
unlimited
my.
tournament?
So you want Takato
okay.
to provide you
Okay.
hopium? Is that what's happening, or
Not
Oh,
hopium, it's
shit.
facts, is what I'm saying.
keep
I mean,
huffing that copium,
like I
Ashani?
can say yes right over here, and let's see if people will have an interaction against the Grand Abolish here. I don't think people
I mean,
will.
probably not. Grand Abolish
Probably
should normally
not.
resolve. So yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
like we
You're right.
defense grids on the street for how long nowadays? Like since like Brand Cook started working on it, like last
Grid.
on the summer, like people are still losing to defense grid, so I don't think it's going anywhere. So
That's
you know,
People are still not on these extra turns. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's what I. You know what
man,
I've
like
noticed.
I don't think
Oh.
Hopium lasts that long. So
all
like
right, fair. Okay.
The
All right.
red
it's
We're holding
really
extra
out.
good.
turns. Oh my god.
You're
Look,
holding out.
Ashani's a little slow to pick things up, so I don't. It's okay.
Listen,
It's fine. It's fine.
it took like it took me putting Hermit Druid together for Ashani to realize that that was the truth at the time. So like I get it. I understand, Ashani, that you're hanging on to the old ways, but we don't have time for that here. We're innovators, Sean.
Yeah,
We're-
like, look, I understand that when people lose to Dihada and they're just like, "What the hell did I just lose to?" I'm such a good player. There's no way I could have just lost to this stupid Mardu Planeswalker I've never heard of. It had to have been Brewer's advantage. There's no way that I'm just like unskilled at this game. I
Yeah,
understand.
that's how I felt the first game against Zayn with it, and I was like, I had enough cards to put together and play. Like, oh yeah, this shit is real. Like, yeah.
Yeah, Helenia or Kalulua in the chat making what I think is a very fair point. I think Brewer's Advantage is like Tayam, where they have a dozen creatures that you've never heard of, but Dihada just makes 4 treasures and casts Breach.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys are familiar
whatever.
with.
I
Look,
have no
man,
idea what a Heart of Carrot is doing on the stack and a Flicker. Get
if
out of
you-
here with that nonsense.
Look. They teach counting in kindergarten.
Oh my
If you have a kindergarten education, I'm not asking
Sure.
for much here. You
Sure.
can read the card and see that it mills 4 cards and makes 4 treasures.
Listen, I maybe think you're
I
playing
think you can-
Legendary Tribal. I don't know
I
what's
think you
in
can
your
put
deck.
2 into. If you think I'm playing Legendary Tribal, that means you disrespect me as a person.
Exactly.
And you know what? I'll take it. Free wins for me.
I don't know what's happening. I'm asking is Legendary Tribal coming down. You want some card advantage. I
Farmer
don't know
Zane
what's
is
happening.
setting up his free win fields. Honestly, like it happens. And Helenium clipped the part of you saying that people are unskilled. I can't wait to add that to the in between reel. That'll be great.
Yeah, dude. So like people are like, it's just a skill issue, Shawnee. You know, people are keeping like first 7s against me and then playing like tap land, shock land, and passing. Like,
Oh,
what do you want me to
lovely.
do? What do you want me to do? I'm
Man,
gonna
take-
beat them.
Yeah, take the dub. I agree. Take the dub. I can't argue with that at all. Take it.
I think
Every game I won, I multi-5. Every game I won, I multi-5. Just abuse mulligans. It's so easy.
Yeah, that's true.
interestingly enough, the way that you're winning now in a way parallels the way that you had success on Teamer Malcolm in the past, where people just did not respect that you cast an essentially uncounterable win piece in Glinthorn Buccaneer or play a ton of pieces to get to that win state. It's
Yeah,
the
at that
same kind of
time,
layered philosophy.
I wouldn't say layered. It's just like an abuse of the meta. Like at
Yeah,
that time when I was playing Tropical Malcolm, correct name of the deck by the way.
sorry.
I noticed that no one has removal in their decks. Everyone's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, the Adnaz Boogeyman." Like I don't even play Swords to Plowshares in my deck, and
Yeah,
like I don't have a
Like
way to
this
remove
though.
creatures. Yeah, I was like, cool. Here's Glinthorn, win the game every single time. It worked for like 8 months.
yeah,
So
Man. And
yeah.
his defense, Glinthorn always floated to the top somehow. Not saying it did. It did. I played the deck and it did the same thing. So I can't even say it's just a deck thing. It magically always comes to the top of the deck.
Yeah, like right now, a lot of decks are geared more towards like fighting against like fast Nas. I
Yeah,
think
it
that's
is.
what they're afraid of, which you should be. But like, let's open up your deck list right now and count how many stuff deals ad nauseam. You probably have quite a lot of them, but
Right.
let's take a look at Underworld Breach. How many of those cards in your deck actually deal with Breach on the
Mhm.
stack or after it resolves? You might have some removal, but I think those are mostly bounce spells, and bounce against breach isn't enough to stop the deck. How
Yeah,
many
True.
cards in your deck actually sends the breach to the exile or graveyard? Not so many. You probably only have a Bosager, and that's about it. Maybe some white deck plays like Soul Partition, but you don't. Right now,
Basically a non-spell.
the
I've seen like
yep.
Wear Tear.
Right now, people, yeah, like not many
Yeah.
deck runs that though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
that's true.
now,
like there's
right
like a
now,
lit. Yeah, go ahead.
like right now, people, yes, people play some sort of like a spot removal, but those are bounce and it doesn't really deal with breach. There,
yeah.
a lot of decks are not geared against actual breach deck, like
We're
dedicated
seeing
breach deck.
green decks even cut Nature's Claim, which is
Yeah,
the
I've
thing
That
that
seen
that
I,
cut
that.
which is
sucks.
the
So
thing
like I
I
don't blame them.
never thought I'd see. Like it
Yeah,
sucks, but it's like a fairly crucial removal piece.
Like
so like
on the stack, there's like a tier list of cards that how counterable they are. Creatures are like the most uncounterable card
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
game right
currently
now.
for sure.
After that, it's
Planeswalkers.
artifacts and planeswalkers,
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
same. And then after that, it's
enchantment
enchantments because of
because
Swan Song
Song Song. Yeah,
specifically.
yeah,
And then after that is instant and sorcery.
yeah.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, just if everything we're geared towards is just uncounterable stuff, like your counter spells mean nothing. Like all your base are belong to us. Like for great justice, get
Wow,
good. Like
excellent.
we don't care
yeah.
about your miscasts. We don't care
And
about your whatever.
And then, like, let's say if the meta shift towards like, okay, we gotta worry about breach more than ad nauseam. Well, unfortunately, like Dihada also ad nauseam really good.
Yeah,
So I feel like the deck is gonna be there unless like meta will be filled with a bunch of rest in peace and rule law because the deck still lacks a way to remove enchantment. We only have a little bit, but at the same time, those enchantment are other decks' problem too, so we're not as worried about it. Like we just, let them deal with it sometimes.
so
It's not
Exactly.
always our job.
And like I like this deck more than when I made Tropical Malcolm at the time because in Tropical Malcolm I was like eventually people are going to slot in removal, like it's not that
Yeah.
mhm.
hard and then they can deal with it. This deck I don't think they can actually slot in enough things to deal with this deck because
Yeah,
then you just lose to Rog Silas, Timnacrom, Najila. You just lose to those decks instead. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's
We've by not agreeing to play into this prisoner's dilemma of CEDH, I think we've put everyone into a difficult position. I don't know if they print like an OP card in the future or whatever that like fixes all this, but for
yeah,
now, I feel a lot better about this deck than I did at Tropical Malcolm at the same time.
I feel like
yeah.
once people starting in their Angrath's Rampage and their Vraska's Contempts, they've lost the plot, and they need to need to maybe think about it. They're gonna lose a lot of games just to deal with Dihada. I wanted to move on past the
Yes.
roasting of Ashani, even though that is one of my favorite things to do, and kind
Like,
of past discussing the deck's strengths because they are numerous. You talked a little bit about the differences between your two lists, being like Orm's Chant and what is that card? The
Flame Scroll
dude, the
Celebrant?
red dude, Flame Scroll Celebrant. Yeah. So we've talked about you kind of that difference. Are there any other major differences that people should know about?
Let me dig
Between
it
me and
up.
Zane's deck.
Yeah,
Dark Petition is one. Dark
Dark
Petition is
Petition.
one.
That's a cool
Oh yeah,
card.
so Zane is playing Grim Tutor in that slot, and I'm playing Dark Petition
Okay.
instead. Give me 1 second. Do you guys know what Dark Petition does? It's a 5 mana sorcery, black sorcery. You literally detutor, and if you have a more than 2 instant or sorcery in your graveyard, you will add 3 black
Get
mana.
3
So
black
if
mana.
you
Yeah.
so basically a bit higher upfront cost, but in the end you are only using 2 mana to detutor pretty much. So it's kind of equivalent to like second detutor.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And then Grim Tutor, on the other hand, upfront cost is just 3. You lose 3 life, and it's a G tutor. So So let's talk about like the actual differences those cards will make. So, well, obviously, like Grim Tutor, lower upfront cost, so like you don't have to have like bazillion mana to get it going, and you don't need those graveyard requirement. But on the other hand, Dark Petition, well, first of all, upfront costs being high, is that really problem in Dihada? Probably not, because what does Dihada do? Make a lot of treasures.
Make a lot of mana.
You might not you go for Dark Petition line right the turn you cast Dihada, but if you're in a situation you do like early Dihada, down tech, make treasure, pass, and the next turn Dark Petition, you should have like 6 or 7 mana to get going from there to win the game. And also, you need 2 instant sorcery in the graveyard. What does the Hada do? Oh, put cards into the graveyard. And I think Scotty mentioned like even though we're Mardu, we do run quite a amount of like instant sorcery. So having 2 instant sorcery is not a problem for Dark Petition to have a full effect. And make triple black. What can we do? Bottom line, we can find Necroponents, which is a powerful card if we can resolve it early, or if we have like we should have more mana to play around with, so we can tutor for like Balls of Citadel or Ad Nauseum, or we can do some breach stuff depending on the situation. Like it will find you a way to win or put you in a commanding position. So I felt really good about that card. And not to mention, but let's go. Let's talk about Ball of Citadel. Let's say like you cast Ball of Citadel. And then what's the card you're trying to find off of that Ball of Citadel to actually win the game? Usually Sensei's Divining Top that'll let you go through the deck without avoiding all the lands and like uncastable stuff. So if you flip into Dark Demonic Tutor or Grim Tutor, you're gonna cast it. Even if you find Sensei Stop, you have to cast it from your hand. You need to have a floating mana. Sometimes you can't do that because Ball Citadel does cost quite a bit. But if it's a Dark Petition, you pay 5 mana, cast it, find Sensei Stop, and you actually have 3 mana to play around with. You can actually cast this top, and then you probably win the game from there. That's something Grim Tutor cannot do. So I thought that would be really great, and that's why I'm playing Dark Petition. The Citadel thing didn't come up this tournament, but in my playtesting, it did come in clutch a lot of times. So I think Dark Petition is a really good card to be playing in Dihada.
Nice.
Yeah, the things with like Grim Tutor is like I've noticed this while playing Grim Tutor. I mean, it's like a good tutor. You can get Breach or whatever, but you can't do the thing often where you tutor for Breach and then use the Breach and then tutor for for the Flicker, because it's like 6 mana and then you can't
double
cast
black.
the Flicker.
Yeah.
So
you
I've
need
definitely
4
run into
black
that
pips up.
problem. Before.
I think the other thing about Grim Tutor is that sometimes if you're post Nas resolving a Grim Tutor, it can be rough because of the 3 life penalty. But I've noticed that playing like Grixis, but I think Dark Petition. I really like Dark Petition. I miss it from playing Jaleva back in Proto cEDH. Yeah.
The
I
good
miss
old
it.
days.
Yeah, I miss it for playing Jaleva. But
showing your age there, Scotty.
I know.
Come
Yeah,
on.
I know.
I still play Dark Petition in Logside. I really like the card, but that just me treating it as a pet card. But I feel like it's a great card. So
it's definitely a cool card.
You don't have to play Dihada. Maybe if you're playing like a fast black deck, give it a try. Maybe you might like it.
I would also like to just quickly talk about Fork real fast. That's a card that just susses people out. All I really got to say is that every time I resolve Fork, I've won the game.
Yeah,
So
you add
good
Nas
card.
over top. Yeah, I honestly
It's not
for
even Adnaz over top. I remember one time, I think Hal was going for like a breach line with Savines, and I was just like, cool, everyone can fight over his Savines. All right, Stack is about to clear. Okay, here's a fork on his Savines targeting my dock side, and then I just went and won the game.
nice. That yeah, fork is a really cool card. It's one of those cards that is on the reserve list. It's a very cool card. And not a lot of people have played it. I don't see it a lot. I see it in Godo, and now I see it in Dihada, and I really think that there's room for that card in other lists. So that's it's kind of cool to see the old ways, because again, like in the past, people were playing fork to like twin spells and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's kind of cool to see that time is a flat circle, and we're kind of coming back to some of the old tech,
One more
resurgence of
thing
the
is
old tech.
the out of time. When I was
Such a
building this
cool
deck,
card.
I was like,
Great card.
I had Toxic Deluge, and then I was like, what am I doing? My commander is a Planeswalker. Here's out of time.
Out of time
Yeah,
pisses me
because you
off
know
so
what?
much. I hate that card.
Out of time is an enchantment, and in our tier list of uncounterable spells, enchantments make number 3.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So it's
Listen,
already hard to
that's,
beat.
I
And
hate
I
then
that
agree.
card.
you just
And not
royally
to
screw
mention,
everyone over.
Yeah,
My
I agree.
my local meta is like super stacksy. I'll sit down, there's like 2 collector oofs out, like an
Mhm.
opposition agent and or whatever, and I'm like, you would think that I'm not gonna win those games, but nope. Here's the out of time. Boom, 12 hunters on my out of time.
Yeah.
Your shit's never coming back. Okay, here's breach. I win the game, and everyone's just like, damn it, I hate this card so much, and I can't do anything about it.
I agree.
another
All the
important
time is
thing
a good card.
It's a deck that can
is
play. No, oh, sorry. Go ahead. Talk. I didn't mean to cut you
sorry.
off.
So another great thing about auto time, it is an enchantment. On top of being like hard to be countered, you can actually use Enlightened Tutor to find that card.
Yeah.
Compared to like Toxic Deluge or Fire Covenant, those are great board wipe at 3 CMC. But in Mardu, you can only use like a black tutor to find them. But
Mhm.
auto time, you will have one more extra tutor that you can use to get out those like Staxy situation.
Yeah.
So it is great card. I think it's a must have in the Hada deck.
It is there. There's basically like 3 decks that can successfully run out of time right now, and it's Shorikai, Aminatu, and now Dihada. But the thing that I notice is that Shorikai and Aminatu struggle to close out the game compared to
Mhm.
Dihada. So it is a deck that can run out of time that can actually close out the game
Oh
with
yeah,
their
we
out
closed
of
out the
time in
game.
play. Yeah.
It,
Uh,
We end
I
the game
finished my semifinals first at the Mana Vault in like 1 on turn 2. Like I was playing D Train was in my pod. He didn't get a turn 2. So and then after that I was like, well, I'm bored and these other semifinal matches are going. So we didn't over under on how many games we could play before the semis ended. I picked over on 5. 5 was like the thing, and we played 6 games. By the way, I won 3 of those.
nice.
So,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
didn't top
close
4,
out
but
the
I
game.
won
You
3.
won't have any time problems with this deck either. So,
Oh my goodness,
So
bro.
the kind of the final question I have for you about the list is what changes are in the pipeline for Dihada in the future? What changes do you think could be made based on your performances this past weekend?
Let's
you
see.
have anything, Taka?
Let's see. Okay, Zay might flame me for this, but I'm feeling low and low on Cloudstone Curio
Oh,
overall.
actually, I was actually gonna mention the same
Okay.
thing. I was like, dude, I don't think Cloudstone Curio is actually that good. I think I
Yeah.
even
So
mentioned it in our chat. I was like, yo,
yeah.
who's doing this?
Yeah. So like it does like it does a dockside like Magda thing, but then opening your win with Cloudstone Curio is very awkward. So
Mhm.
let's think about this. So how many cards do you need to win with Cloudstone Curio? Cloudstone Curio, dockside, and another creature to
Yep.
bounce the dockside. And once you make the infinite treasure, you need
Need a
another
payoff.
card to pay off or find a payoff.
Exactly.
Well, sometimes if
It's
you
like
have like
4.
Yeah,
4
unless your other creature
if
is
you have Magda
Magda.
3.
Yeah.
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 That's a lot.
It's a lot.
And as we mentioned earlier, and as you guys know, Dihada doesn't draw much cards. We don't want to dedicate too many cards just to win the game, especially if we can just breach. So
Exactly. Like
so I
you,
felt very low on Curio, so I might be cutting.
I might be cutting
Curio.
that too, because like when we first put it in the deck, we were like, oh, maybe we can do the Magda Sensei's top loop and draw
Yeah.
the whole deck. I've never done that ever.
Yeah,
We've
like
been
to
playing
be
this deck for
honest,
like 3 weeks. I've never done that.
to be honest, if we have enough Magda activation, we can find Bolus's Citadel and Sensei's top, and we will
Yeah.
find some other way to win. So I feel
It
like
is in the game,
Curio
yeah.
can be cut. And then because if we cut Curio, next question is Mayhem Double. That card is powerful with Dihada because you crack treasure, so that can be your hard to count removal. But if 3 mana, put it on the board, is it worth it? That's something I gotta test around. What do you think, Zing?
Oh, I think Mayhem Devils is uncuttable. I don't know what you're
Okay.
talking about right now.
Let's go.
Well, like, yeah, it is
Alright.
powerful, but it is kind of like a pair with like Curio because we play Curio loop, and then that's the way to finish the game. So like maybe,
Well, we don't even
yeah.
need it with the Curio loop. We
Yeah.
can do like
It-
the twin.
It also kills
strike
Dihada.
twin flame.
Oh yeah, the twin flame, yeah, post combat twin flame. That's right, I forgot about that. Yeah, did you guys
can't
know
cut
like?
Mayhem Devil.
Yeah, did you guys know you can do twin flame dual cast it on your second main phase and just cast a mayhem double to win the game?
And then
because...
sacrifice all of them at the end of your turn.
sacrifice at the end of the turn. So yeah, that's I forgot about
old
that.
Hulk. Yeah, that's
Dooland-
old Hulk tech, yeah.
Dooland
Yeah,
also in the
that's
chat.
Okay, I'm keeping
notably,
mayhem double.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, bottom
Okay.
performing cards in this deck are Cloudstone Curio for sure. Like I'm really sussed
Okay.
out on this card. I unfortunately Heart of Kieran, I'm a little sussed out. I don't think I can cut it because it like wins me a lot of games, but it
Yeah.
is like it's like a bottom 20 card in this
Yeah,
deck.
it's
garbage
hard
out
to find
the
outside
deck.
winning turn. So, but
Yeah.
but I think
Blank
Cloud
cardboard.
Curio-
Has no text.
Yeah, so the cards I wanted to give it a try is I was looking through like Japanese lists, and I've seen some people play Grape Shot actually.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
Grape Shot, they serve two purposes. One is obviously alternative win after your Flicker combo, because you're gonna create like massive amount of storm count,
Yeah.
and by the time you find your Grape Shot, you should have like decent amount of like you're exiling to go through your deck, but you're gonna have a lot of graveyard, and you're gonna have a lot of treasure to cast the Grape Shot. So it's usually enough to win the game, and also it serves dual purpose of hard to counter removal. Like if you can, let's say, on your turn 2 or something like that, let's say they had like an early like counter magic, not counter magic, like a Balfi Boywalker or like a opposition agent or something like that. Let's say you cast JLo, cast Dihada, downtick Dihada, and that's already 2 storm count built up, and then you can do other stuff, and then you can cast Grape Shot, and maybe like your storm count, you'll have like 4 copy of Grape Shot, like shooting down like multiple stuff. That might be very powerful.
Isn't
like
Grape Shot damage to any target?
Yeah.
Yes,
So you can use
it
it
could be
to
a finisher.
kill your own. Well, you can do it to kill your own Dihada.
Yeah, you can.
But you need to
reach
kill
it
for
back.
free. You need to kill for free first. That's the issue.
Yeah.
I think Dooland here, who's Weston from Las Vegas. I
Okay.
shouted him out earlier. That's
Yeah.
who that is. Speaking of
Oh,
Mayhem
yeah.
Devils, by the way, you can use the Mayhem Devils to also breach Loop Dihada. I forgot to mention that, so you can't cut that card.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm not trying to like a loop using Grape Shot, but as a way to remove like multiple hate
pieces. Yeah.
Mhm.
and like double downs as like alternative game finisher. So I feel like Grape Shot might be a good thing to try. So I'm gonna be playing with that.
Yeah.
cards I want to try personally are Peer into the Abyss. Shout out Connor, swat him. And then Peer into the Abyss is a big one because I'm like sitting here with like 9 mana on turn 2.
Listen, we need to stop listening to Connor's gospel. Peer is not a castable spell. Let it die.
All right.
Please.
I think you played too much TNT, my friend.
It's
It's
quarter after
goodness.
8.
Get
We
out
can't.
of here.
Shawnee, it's quarter after 8. We can't start flaming you again.
Peer is definitely on my radar,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
So
I've tried pretty
Peer.
good. You tried Peer?
Yeah, I tried Peer before the tournament, and then like I cut it for the tournament because sometimes you do make like error 9 mana after the turn you pass with Dihada, but like a lot of time, let's say you use JLo to cast Dihada, like you're untapping with like 7 mana usually, or if not 6 mana. So sometimes like Peer is uncastable, or you can open with silence effects. So I felt like 7 is still a lot, even though Dihada make
Mhm.
Right.
bazillion mana. So I cut I didn't settle with Peer.
You got
Thank
it.
you. A man of reason. Look at this. Lovely.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
really that's I mean that's it. I had tried an Archivist of Ogma in this deck, but I realized that I'm ending the game like turn 2 or 3, so it doesn't do
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, Esper
Um,
Sentinel is good, but yeah, Agma, it's how much card you draw is hit or miss. So
So
yeah.
I kind of had one question
Mhm.
relating to the brewing process of the deck. How important was it for you to have a regular testing group of very good players in developing the
So
very
deck?
important. Taka here, Ashani here, despite the trash we talked, he actually did help out a lot building this deck. Hal over there, and then just like a lot of other people from the Cabal, just
Yeah.
being able to sit down, jam games with them continuously while they and you know they're good.
Yeah.
So they're playing the meta decks. They might even be playing non-meta decks. I played against so much freaking Ob Nixilis while testing this deck because they were other people were building Ob Nixilis.
Yeah.
um, that it's a good time. Also, a shout out to the NorCal group locally here. I was able to test the deck out against them as
Nice.
well. Uh, had a good time. And then the nicest part about the testing group is like I wrote like a hypothesis before building Dihada where I was like, where this is where I think the meta's at. This is why I think this deck is good. I'm gonna try it. And I know that I can build this deck. I can play it for 3 weeks or whatever. And then if it's just not good, I can go back and play Najila, and Memo will
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, man, in the 3 weeks you've been doing this bullshit, I've updated 2 changes to
Yeah.
Najila. And, like, here you go."
Yeah,
So
you
like,
did. Yeah.
I can
yeah,
go back to other decks. Other people are constantly iterating on them. I'm not gonna fall behind. Get a
Yeah.
good testing group. This is
yeah.
like the true advantage of this type of thing.
Like
I'm
our
sure
group,
Taka has
like
more
there's
thoughts.
so much like separate like lines of project going on at the same time. Like if
Mhm.
one fails, like we just jump back to the other like ongoing one and we work on it together until we find like another line to start working. And by the time we have like important event, like then we'll have like final decision like what am I playing?
Yeah. The
So
real
yeah,
brewer's advantage
definitely
is people to play with.
And
yeah,
like
find sweaty people to play with.
exactly. Like playing with these guys, I was like, cool. Now I've learned to play like a crackhead. Like in a line I took in the semifinals was I made 5 treasures with Dihada, and I had a Wheel of Fortune and a gamble in my hand, and I was
Mhm.
like, I'm just gonna gamble for the breach here because
Yeah.
if I get it, I win. That's a 50-50 chance. I'll take that. Um, like you just got to do stuff like that. Or even in the finals, I mulled to 5. I put the Heart of Kieran down, and I was like, cool. If I can resolve this breach, I win, and I'll just crack my LED, discard my hand, and cast Dihada and just go for it. Like I don't need much to get started here. Like you just got to play like a crazy person at
Mhm.
all times, or
Very
maybe
true.
not a crazy person, but like an adrenaline
Yeah.
junkie.
There is
So
there is the thing that I have heard a lot lately is don't respect your opponents in Swiss.
yeah, I mean most of your opponents are bad, and like as Hal says, it's not their fault. They don't even know they're
Yeah.
bad. So
Yeah.
what can you do?
160 people enter, 40 of those people have to be the bottom of the barrel. Like it's just how it goes. Uh
Sometimes it's me. Look at
yeah.
my Punt City 2 results.
And
Sometimes
sometimes
I
you
feel like
get
that.
matched into your test group, but like yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happened this tournament. My round 1 was like literally the final spot.
Yeah.
I was like Sharky, Mikey, me, and Shauna. I was like, "What the hell is this? What Brewers advantage? What do you mean?"
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much, y'all for joining us. I think that about wraps us up for the evening. Uh, I wanted to give you a second to talk about anything that you have coming up, anything that you'd like to shill, anything that's important to you. I'll start with Takato, and then we'll go to
Yeah,
Zane.
yeah, I got a lot of stuff to show. So I do a small YouTube content for cEDH. Let's see. Let me swap it up my screen
Put it
for
up.
my sharing.
Yeah.
So bam, there you go. So I do like first person view gameplay of cEDH. I do it like every other month or something like that. It's not a frequent content, but I get to talk about like my game plan, what's my read against my opponent, those kind of stuff as I go through the gameplay. It lets me talk about the depth of the cEDH. So if you like those kind of like in-depth gameplay, definitely check out my channel. You can find there's a QR code. I don't know if it's big enough for the
Yeah, I just scanned it.
stream.
It worked fine.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Or you can look it up for what is it? YouTube.
cEDHtoken.com.
So youtube.com/ well, hold on. This is an older ad. Let
You
me
can
swap it up
also
real
go
quick.
to makeplayingcards.com/sell/ukarine_cEDH.
No,
Yep.
he has like an actual address. I'll paste it in
Yeah.
the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
I'm gonna help
English
him
ad.
chill.
Okay, I switched the thing. So
cEDH
youtube.com. So my YouTube is youtube.com/@cEDH. Yes, I took that handle. Sorry about that, guys.
Nice.
But that's so yeah, you can find me easily through that handle on YouTube. Or if you're interested in a different style of tokens for your cEDH gameplay, I did make a set of the 90 cards token sets designed for cEDH use. You can find those at cEDHtoken.com. Let me show you guys real quick how it's gonna look like.
I don't know if this
Not
is
my
showing up.
screen.
Whoa,
Where did
Hall
it
of
go?
Mirrors.
Ooh, there you go. So I have a whole bunch, like all the color mana.
That's sick.
Like I have treasure token, warrior token if you play Najila, copy token for Kark and Sakushima. Like I made a bunch of token that's useful for cEDH players. So yeah, definitely check those out. cEDHtoken.com or the QR code. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's about it for me as far as shelling goes.
Awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, check out his stuff. It's way
Yeah.
cooler than whatever I'm about to talk about.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry to show
Zane.
my stuff.
Oh, you don't need to apologize. These tokens are awesome. You'll see me using these.
Yeah, let
Yeah.
me know if Brian Cook gets mad about like shilling my competitive product on your stream, but we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, so I'm Zane. I'm Zerob0, one of the owners of Eminence. I was gonna Shiny knows he can't talk too much trash against me on the stream. He'll get fired.
Knife
No,
to
I'm
our
just kidding.
throats.
I built a command tower for Eminence. I built EDH top 16 if you use that at all. I recommend it. That's how I came upon building this deck. I built, what else have I built? zvgp.net, completely unrelated website from cEDH. It's my favorite video game music that I constantly curate. I'll link it in the chat here. And then I got some new content things in the pipeline. Look forward to that. I'll be talking a lot of trash. So if you liked seeing trash talk and toxicity coming from me, I've got more for you real soon.
Nice.
Amazing.
Anyways, yeah, you guys got it. Take it away.
The final question I have to ask, I am obligated to ask you is yeah, I think Zane's answered it before, so I will only ask Takato here. What's the sexiest soup?
Well, like I was born and raised in Japan, has to be a miso soup.
That's a great answer. From everybody at Eminence, I have been Scott Scoots. I've been joined by Ashani, my ever faithful co-host, and Zane and Takato, our wonderful guests. Please tell everybody thank you in the chat. I want to see thank yous for our guests, and I hope that you have a great rest of your Memorial Day. I hope that you enjoyed some hamburgers, and yeah. I hope that your Monday goes well. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.